I sit around and I say, water your health. Drink a glass of water. But I need to water my emotional health because it is dehydrated. I need to water my spiritual health because it is dehydrated. I need to water my mental health because it is dehydrated. And then I take all of that dehydration and that lack of abundance, and then I pull from your well and I suck you dry to make myself feel better. And I drain you of your energy, and I suck and I'm leeching, and at some point the talk has to stop and the walk has to begin. Good day to everybody out there. How are you today? How's it going? Where do I begin? Self-sabotage. It's been very prevalent in my life for years now. And after reading the curriculum and some of the material that I've been reading in the last 48 hours, it doesn't take me learn to catch on. It does take me a little bit longer to start implementing things and actually carrying those things out. But after reading certain things in the last few days, I've realized how much toxicity I carry, how much heaviness I carry, and how much I put that on to others. I'm also realizing that I self-sabotage a lot, and I have very low emotional intelligence. I had no idea that I was so self-absorbed and selfish that I destroy all the relationships that I come in contact with, whether they're acquaintances, whether they're intimate relationships, family members, friends, working, I destroy them. And some people may say, or have the question, why don't you have someone here with you? Where's your significant other? Why don't they want to be? I wouldn't want to be around someone that's as toxic as me, who wants to control everything and weaponizes things against another person. And I wouldn't want to be around that kind of energy, would you? Someone that's always so intense and heavy and thinking that they're right about everything, doesn't want to accept any accountability, any responsibility, doesn't want to do the work and what it takes to have a better relationship with himself. I wouldn't want to be around someone like that. So I can't expect other individuals to be around me. People see me on these videos. There's no one around me because no one wants to be around someone that's just selfish and toxic, or at least didn't want to grow. But as I'm learning, when you know better, you do better. If you don't know that you're emotionally unintelligent, then you're going to continue to do the same things over and over again, expecting that you're right. I didn't realize how much of lack of empathy that I have. I thought that empathy was only putting yourself in another person's shoes and feeling what they're feeling in a particular moment. If there is a death in the family or someone just lost their job, you're being empathetic with them and basically putting yourself in their shoes and feeling how they're feeling, and I guess expressing that. See, I don't even know what empathy means. Empathy is one of the most broadest, it's a big thing. And as I'm learning, I have zero, even with the lack of empathy, wanting to control everything. Why do I need to control everything? Why am I trying to tell you how to live your life? You are your own individual. What works for me may not work for you. We are entitled to have difference of beliefs and difference of opinions. Who am I to set the standard? If I want to be in a relationship with you on what's acceptable or what's right, without listening to your perspective and how you feel about these things, that's not fair. But I tend to fall into these habits of going to what's comfort, or if something comfortable, or if something that isn't comfortable to me, I'll retreat, I'll withdraw, I'll withhold my affection, my love, because of my heaviness and my toxicness and my insecurities and my fears. I'm not challenging myself to grow, to stop and pause and take a second and think and rationalize and think logically about what I'm doing here. Instead, I'm pointing the finger. It's either my way or get the hell out of here. Who wants to live like that? Who wants to be around someone who is so inconsistent, back and forth? And the moment that there's a problem, I have no conflict resolution skills. So I immediately go to anger, raising my voice, screaming, as if that's going to soothe over and create a solution to the problem. Only thing that's doing for me is creating more chaos, lack of trust, someone not feeling safety. That's not going to make you feel safe to be around me if I'm not being empathetic, being curious about who you are, working towards a solution. The only thing I'm working towards is trying to argue about who's right. That's not conducive to us building a relationship. That's not conducive to me growing. That's not helping. That is me self-sabotaging every encounter that I come across, being transactional in my relationships. If you don't have something to offer me, what am I dealing with you for? If you don't have it together financially, your worth isn't anywhere. Well, everything isn't based around finances. Where the hell did I get that mentality from? Why does everything have to do with material success on the external? Finances are just one form of currency. What about the other person's energy? That, to me, I'm learning is the most important form of currency. But I'm placing so much on finances. Why? If they don't even matter so much anymore, and I'm so free, why am I worried about finances? As opposed to what you can give me outside of that. Because being empathetic is a form of currency, energy. Being able to self-regulate, that is a form of currency, a form of energy that I never place value on. That has to change. Having to surrender control, not wanting to argue because I want to be right, but to actually find the solution to whatever problem there may be together. I do not have to do this by myself. I do not have it all figured out. I've compensated for all my shortcomings by surrounding myself with everything on the exterior that I feel like is going to make me look great. But it's not making me feel great because I'm still an asshole. I'm still shitty to other people. I'm still a piece of shit. I'm not showing up for the people who love me. I'm not showing up for myself. And in turn, I definitely can't show up for you because I'm not showing up for me. And I understand that I have to exercise compassion. I go to therapy. Yes, therapy is 1 day a week, 1 hour. What about the other 167 hours per week? What am I doing during those times to continue to build, to continue to grow, to continue to expand my mind, to continue to challenge myself, to continue to diversify my thoughts, my feelings, stopping, pausing, gathering my thoughts, then responding and reacting in the best way possible that's going to have the best outcome for all of us, not just me. When am I going to start doing that? It has to start now because that is all toxic energy. Look at me. It's a sense of heaviness that hasn't been dealt with. I cannot blame it on my upbringing because the tools are there. I have to seek them out. I have to actually continue to repetitiously read the information, apply the information, no matter how comfortable the changes may feel, no matter how comfortable things may get. That is when the tests are there. I want to say I failed, but I have not. I've actually found my weaknesses. And instead of running towards them, I've ran away from them. Just this, it doesn't mean anything. You don't even have a relationship with yourself. Nobody wants to be around you. It's gotten to the point that I don't even want to be around myself. So now I'm forced to change because I can't stand to sit with myself anymore. I can't stand to sit here and lie to myself anymore and tell myself that I love myself and I'm so accomplished. Where the hell am I accomplished at? Anybody can do this. Anybody can go and buy a piece of property. Anybody can go and buy a car. Anybody can go and buy a motorcycle and buy houses and all this other shit. When am I going to put the work in to build a relationship with myself? Be compassionate. Be empathetic. Show up 100% for other individuals. It's not all about me. Stop criticizing. Stop taking people's vulnerabilities and weaponizing them against them once they tell you about these things, and utilizing them as leverage for your benefit, for my benefit. Stop. It doesn't work. There's no compassion. There's no growth in that. It's ugly. Wanting to teach people a lesson and be harsh to them because they've done you wrong. Where's the love in that? How can someone feel safe around that? How can someone trust me because of the way that's not trustworthy characteristics. Those are red flags that scream, do not proceed. But because I dress it up so well and I put a bunch of makeup on it and I speak so eloquently, I'm supposed to expect someone to accept me because of those things? Or feel like because of those things, I don't need to do any more work? No, I am emotionally bankrupt. I am emotionally unintelligent. I'm just learning these things. At my age, it's almost embarrassing to say. Mentally abusive, physically abusive. And I want to give some context when I say physically abusive. I'm not running around here to just put my hands on people. That's just not the case. I'm not smacking, no. But yes, I don't want to leave nothing off the table here. These are things about me that I'm not happy about, that I have to exercise every day. Not just once a week when it's therapy time. That's 1 day a week, 1 hour. The work has to be done minute by minute, second by second. I'm disgusted with how I've been. So much so that it has forced me to seek out different ways to get better. Read different books, listen to different audiobooks, practice exercises, speaking out loud, even if it hurts me to talk about these things. It doesn't feel good coming on camera talking about all my weaknesses and my vulnerabilities and my being a liar and a cheat and a steal and not wanting to confront my shortcomings and my lacks. There's nothing that feels good about that. Nothing at all. Jealousy. Mad at you because you are like, what the heck? It's unbelievable. And it would be even more of a tragedy to stay the same way after knowing. I have to point the finger at him and know that it is your fault. It's my fault. I have to take the blame. I have to do the work. I have to show up every second. I have to speak to you with compassion, with empathy. I have to do more than just put myself in your shoes for a brief moment. I have to give you 100% focus and attention when I'm interacting with you. It's a form of disrespect for me to pick this up when you're trying to have a conversation with me. Why am I looking over there when I'm talking to you? That's not respecting you. That's not showing you that you matter. No one's perfect, but that is not an excuse to continue walking around here in the same exact position that I was yesterday. That's not an excuse to be exactly who I was yesterday, because no one's perfect. That has nothing to do with me. I don't want to be perfect. I want to be prepared to deal with conflict when it arises, to deal with that uncomfortable feeling when you say something that doesn't sit well with me, to know how to respond to you accordingly so I don't hurt your feelings, to not want to control everything about your life because I'm a vegan and I want you to eat the same way I eat, or I have these particular beliefs and you have to believe the same thing. No, people come to realizations or truths or certain internal, I don't even know how to word it, but people come to certain places in their lives when they have to, when maybe you have to deliver those informations to them in a way that it's receivable to them. Or maybe it's not even your job. Maybe it's not even my job. My job is to focus on me and being the best version of me and showing up for myself, knowing that you and I are interconnected. So I have to want for you as I want for myself. I have to treat you how I want to be treated. I have to stop and think before I respond to you. How will that make you feel? and act accordingly. I have to continue to gain and develop other ways of coping. Anger is not the answer. Yes, we all get angry. How I deal with my anger is not the answer. It hasn't been the answer. Raising my voice at you is not the answer. Manipulating you is not the answer. Getting what I want out of a relationship with you and you not getting nothing in return is not the answer. I have to become more generous. I have to give more of my energy, more of my time, more of my currency. This is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. But I will say this, it's going to be well worth the journey because I have no choice but to come out on the other side of this. I have no choice. Well, I do have a choice. But if I don't want to stay how I was, then I have no choice. And I don't want to stay stuck. And that's exactly where I've been. I've been stuck. And I realized that compensating for it on the external with all this other stuff that is around here, these bells and whistles, it hasn't worked. It hasn't made me feel any happier. It doesn't make me feel any better. I don't treat people any better than what I did, than I used to. I have to cut a lot of shit out, but I'm not going to go into all of that. The thing is being uncomfortable and learning how to deal with that uncomfortable feeling in a healthy way, communicating in a healthy way. Calm down, take a breath, speak to myself in a gentle way. Tell myself, calm down, it's not that serious. Learn how to communicate. Raising your voice is not the answer. Speaking down on people is not the answer. Projecting is not the answer. Switching the focus and flipping the focus to someone else and making it seem like they're the villain, it's not the answer. Making people feel that they aren't seen, that is not the answer. Telling people that you can do better than them is not the answer. When you realize that everything that you've been doing has been wrong, I shouldn't say everything. Emotionally, I'll say everything. And everything in the emotional intelligence sector, I've operated wrongly. When I realized that, I had to start looking at myself with disgust, with hate. I hate that about me. I hate that I don't have any emotional intelligence. I don't know how to properly empathize or apologize or build relationships. I hate that. I hate that I fear losing control because of my insecurities. Because if I'm truly secure within me and I'm truly comfortable with who I am, then what am I worried for? So I have to build those securities and I have to build that muscle and I have to challenge myself to develop, to grow, to be vulnerable, to do the work, to show up every day, every second. This has to be something that's done. Even after reading for the last 2 days, lots of very good information and listening to audiobooks, I still relapsed just as quickly as a few hours ago. But I recognized it really quickly. I got so uncomfortable and I retreated because I was uncomfortable. Instead of listening, stop drawing conclusions about what I think someone means based off of my previous experiences, because they may not mean that. Ask the questions. Be sensitive about asking these questions. Instead of formulating my own conclusion and my own for how I think they mean what they mean, no. Ask. Get clarity. So there isn't any room for, because I know I've asked now. So now I know. But that's something that I just did within a 2 to 3, just waking up this rising. It happened. But you know what? I was able to catch it and I realized it right away. And I said, you just read all of that stuff yesterday. And as you read all of those things yesterday, look at what you've done. Look at how you've responded to this. You didn't learn. You're not implementing what you're learning. You're not implementing what you're reading. You're not practicing because you got uncomfortable because of a text message, which can get lost in translation. Pick up the phone. Have the tough conversations. Get the clarity so you know how to respond accordingly, as opposed to jumping to conclusions and then being wrong. Now, because you felt uncomfortable and you just automatically jumped to the finish line. And all that stuff you just read yesterday was for naught. You gotta pick yourself, and that's where compassion comes in at. That's where staying in the present comes in, being in the now, being aware, drawing yourself back in. Hold on, that wasn't right. Why would you do that? You shouldn't text that. You're trying to practice on certain things. Why would you text that? That's not gonna make them feel good. Would that make you feel good? Are you doing the work? Or are you running away from the work? This is the battle every day that has to be done, that will show up. And to the point that it's just natural. That's gonna take a long time. I have to be committed to putting in that work. I have to be committed to my daily growth. I have to use therapy as that tool that shows up every week. But I also have to continue to keep doing the research every day, because therapy is not going to solve all my problems. That's a tool just like money. Money isn't going to solve all my problems. So I'm a lot to do. I'm a lot to be around. This is why people don't want to be around me. I'm heavy. I've been heavy. I've been very intense. I've been very emotionally unavailable. I give breadcrumbs. I've been transactional. I've been a coward, very hypocritical. I've been demanding of others when I haven't been demanding of myself. How can I demand something from you and I'm not even demanding the shit from myself, and I'm not even showing up for myself and being consistent with that? That's a hypocrite. No one wants to be around that. That is why I'm by myself. That's toxic. That's red flags. That's screaming. Proceed with caution and at your own risk. In fact, that's saying stop. This one's not right. He has a lot of work to do. And if you decide to step across that line and jump into his world, you're gonna get hurt. I've cried, I've apologized, I've vented, but I haven't done the hard work. And that cannot be done through YouTube. It cannot be done through just talking. I've been almost a raw vegan for the last several years, majority, over 50% of my life. I would say I've been 60 to 70% raw vegan in the last 3-4 years. Mostly high water content foods. Yes, the foods have helped me big time, because I used to be so much worse. But the foods are not the only solution. In fact, they aren't the only solution, because if they were, I'd be so zen. I'd be so high vibrational. I'd be so on point, because I eat the best. It's a lot more than just food. I used to think it. That's a good place to start. It's way bigger than the food. Because I could be eating all this healthy food: blueberries, blackberries, cherries, strawberries, mangoes, avocado, tomatoes, cucumbers. And if my mind isn't in a good place, then that is not to say that it's not going to work, but the effects of it aren't going to be as beneficial as they should be. So be careful out there about who you jump into a relationship with. You don't want to get into a relationship with someone like me who looks like they have it all together, but deep down inside, suffering. Deep down inside, super toxic. Deep down inside, very manipulative, very controlling, abusive, heavy, unhappy, unloving of self. Do not get into a relationship with someone like me. Be wary of people who look like they got this shit figured out all on the outside. That's a big red flag right there to me. Now, if you look like you got it all figured out on the outside, that's a red flag. Now, maybe I'm wrong when I say that. Maybe I'm basing that off of my experience with myself, and I shouldn't put that on everybody. And because some people that have it together on the outside, maybe I cannot speak for you. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that, because everybody who has it together on the outside aren't as toxic as I am. But for me, no. It's not all about all of this on the exterior. But who am I? What am I? How do I want to be? It's very good. Life is great. And I choose to live like this and not be the very best? That's a problem. I sit around and I say, water your health. Drink a glass of water. But I need to water my emotional health, because it is dehydrated. I need to water my spiritual health, because it is dehydrated. I need to water my mental health, because it is dehydrated. And then I take all of that dehydration and that lack of abundance, and then I pull from your well and I suck you dry to make myself feel better. And I drain you of your energy, and I suck and I'm leeching and I'm... At some point, the talk has to stop and the walk has to begin. At some point, the talk has to stop and the walk has to begin. It sounds really great, but it needs to look the same way it sounds. It needs to feel the same way it sounds. Let it go and grow. Let it go and grow. Life is what you make it. I appreciate you guys for watching my videos. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and subscribing. A lot of people came here for the off-grid living and homesteading and food forest and permaculture and all that stuff. Some people came for other reasons, I get it. But this journey is more than those things for me. The homosexuality, the gayness, nobody gives a damn about what you really do in your bedroom. They really don't. Like, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, I'll say that. But I was doing, that's another conversation. This is the work that has to be done. I have a lot on my plate. I have so much on my plate. My plate is full. I have a farm to run. And now, before the farm, I have to cultivate my mind. I can plant those seeds in those trays, and I can water those mango trees and those papaya plants. When am I going to start planting the seeds? Which I have. See, I've planted the seeds of growth, of learning, of wanting to be a better human. But now I have to water them through reading, through exercising, through compassion, empathy, doing the work. That is the actual watering. And that's what I will do. And you guys will see those transformations. And if you don't see those transformations, it's because I'm not coming online. But I think, and I know that based on how I've been for the last year and a half that I've been actually doing this, I think that I know there will be a lot of breakthroughs, and I will help people on this journey. I will inspire. And that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to inspire. And I can only do that by being the change that I want to see. And with that, I appreciate y'all for watching. This is See Thy Wealth. Water your health, your mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, social. Water it all, except for that negative health. Water all the positives. Recognize that the negatives are there and do the necessary steps that has to be done to change them. And with that, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have a good day.